Welcome to Horror Score. We're your hosts, Jesse and
Vanessa.
And this week's episode is
Maniac Cop.
Which, this is not technically my first watch, but I didn't remember anything about this movie watching it as a child, so it was like a first watch. What about you?
Yes. And then we watched Maniac Cop 2, and then we watched Maniac Cop 3.
Because Shudder put all three of them up. Now, you may notice the movie's not here. You guys don't own it? No, I wish I owned it. I would buy a Blu-ray box set of the Maniac Cop series right now, if there was one in front of me, for a reasonable price. But, well, I mean, I've sometimes at conventions...
It's a good way to get ads. to get ads to pop up on your Facebook.
Well, yeah. I've been at conventions before where, like, I've seen a movie and been like, oh, awesome, I've wanted this movie for so long, it's on Blu-ray, and they'd be like, $50? Like, are you kidding me? Like, why is this $50? But seriously, I wish I owned this, but we don't have to because we have the Shudder subscription, and it is currently on Shudder. So we checked it out. We did something special for this episode. We always try to do something special.
We did some fan art.
Yeah. A couple episodes ago, you may have noticed that we did some donuts
for killer donuts
for Attack of the Killer Donuts. This week we did some artwork, some fan art for Maniac Cop. So we're gonna take you to our.
Mind you that Jesse is actually an art teacher.
Yes, I do. I teach art and technology.
I don't. So
hers is great.
Be nice.
So we're gonna go to that segment which we've named Arts and Witchcraft. It's a little spooky title that we came up with.
I think it's clever.
Yeah, we're going to go to that now. All right, here we are. I guess I'll go first. What I did was I put together just an illustration of Officer Matt Cordell, the Maniac Cop, specifically from Part 1. I do owe some Christmas presents still. And with quarantine and everything, I left a lot of my work miles away. So I did this for my friend Horror Movie Mike. And it's just, I'm sort of an illustrator, and I figured this was perfect. We could do some fan art for this movie, and I get a Christmas present, that I owed from forever ago out of the park. I was pretty happy with how it came out. It's Prismacolor markers, a little bit of colored pencil on Bristol. On Bristol. I had fun doing it, and I look forward to doing this again. I've done a bunch in the past, and it was cool. I think that I would really like to do this again next time we have a movie where we're like, what do we do for this movie? What can we do that's special? Want to tell us about what you made?
So I made basically a poster for Maniac Cop. I'm not an artist in any way,
yes, you are.
Shape, or form.
She's an artist.
But there were a few different posters for Maniac Cop, and obviously Maniac Cop 2 and 3. And so I just kind of took my favorite design elements from all of them and put them on his badge, which his badge number, as you can see, is 4321, which they couldn't even make that just a random number. But I signed it with my little green horror sticker, and it's Prismacolor markers and some Micron pens.
I think your signature is very cute, the little green horror sticker. I think it's a great idea.
What about the gloved hands? That's your favorite part.
I love the white gloves.
Part of Cordell's uniform.
I mean, it is. I mean, because his costume's not like super crazy besides that, right? He's got the leather jacket, the black pants, a nightstick. Right. But those white gloves, especially in a lot of dark scenes, he's standing down a dark alley and he's got the white gloves.
Also, do cops still use the Billy Club? Do they still have that on their uniforms?
Now, my drawing, he's got the Billy Club, but in this movie, his Billy Club has a blade in it, and that's not standard issue. But he's always pulling out this giant blade. So watch out for that. So
this is our art. I've never drawn anything for any horror movies, and it was fun, so I'd do it again.
Yeah, we'll definitely do this again. You never know when it's going to come up, but we're going to take you back to the regular episode now. We're going to start scoring this gem. Well, we hope you enjoyed that. If you have any fan art for Maniac Cop and you want to share it with us, send it to horrorscorereview@gmail.com.
Or just send it to our Twitter @scorehorror.
And before we go any further, we just wanted to give a shout out to some of our friends who have a horror podcast.
The cats are fighting.
I hear that. Who is fighting? Before we start to score this film, we just wanted to give a shout out to some of our friends who have a podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify called Make Me Shudder, where they are viewing and reviewing every horror movie on, or not just horror movie, every movie on Shudder from A to Z in alphabetical order. So check them out. So what do you want to say about Maniac Cop?
Well, it was directed by Larry Cohen.
I love Larry Cohen.
Yes. Well, because he directed The Stuff.
The Stuff is a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
I will always watch The Stuff. Even if I saw it yesterday, if someone's like, do you want to watch The Stuff today? I'll be like, yeah, let's watch it.
The man loves police procedurals, so it just makes sense that he would do Maniac Cop.
Did he do the one with the big dragon that was another police procedural
The serpent?
movie? Yes,
The
the
winged
winged
serpent.
serpent. Did he do that one?
I tried to look up his filmography because I remember seeing that on the credits when we watched it, but it wasn't listed in his filmography. I think he did, though.
I'm going to say he did it.
He did, yeah.
So we're going to get into scoring this movie. Here on Horror Score, we score movies over 5 categories. Each category is worth up to 20 points for an impossible total score of 100 points.
For a Silence of the Lambs score of 100 points.
I'm never going to give that up.
No, until we review it and you look at the numbers and go, huh? She was right this whole time. It's really a 100-point movie. It's flawless.
Well, everyone knows Silence of the Lambs is a good movie. I don't know that it needs another review of us saying, hey, you should watch this movie.
So what did you grade this on Story?
All right, I like this movie, and I only remembered bits of it as it was happening, but I gave it an 11. There was a real dry spot in the middle. And I just want to mention something that caught my eye about this movie. If you try to watch this on Shudder, as you scroll over a movie, there's a little synopsis. And the synopsis for this movie I thought was really weird. And I don't know if someone wrote it recently because it seems dated.
Oh, no, it's very dated. It seems like in 1988.
I don't know. I feel like someone who works at Shudder had to manually enter this maybe. I don't know, but it's 2 policemen and a policewoman track a uniformed killer, ... who's supposed to be dead. And I just thought it was weird that it wasn't just 3 police officers, track this killer. But specifically, it says, and a policewoman.
They're trying to bring in that audience.
Yeah.
That male audience.
So I think it starts well and it ends well. I gave it an 11. So did you rate it?
I gave it 9. At a certain point, especially in the middle of the movie, you're referring to, it's we get it. This cop can't die, but it's just they keep doing that over and over. They keep doing that over and over. Scene of, oh my God, I shot him in the head, but I unloaded my whole clip on him, and it's yes, we get it. You're the 6th person in the movie so far to claim that he can't die. But Maniac Cop 2.
Yes, because we did watch all 3. Even though we're only reviewing 1 right now, we are going to talk about 2 and 3 a little bit.
Yeah, 2 was great.
Yeah, I thought 2 was better. Mm-hmm. I did think that 2 was better. And I liked the way he looked more, but we'll get into that in the next category. Do you want to take us into Villain?
I sure do.
Please do.
So I gave Villain an 8.
Ooh.
Specifically for Maniac Cop 1,
mm-hmm.
It was he's the Maniac Cop. First of all, is played by Robert Zadar, and he's one of my favorite actors of all time in the history of ever. He is wonderful. He's in this movie as the Maniac Cop. He is the Maniac Cop, and the character is a lot like Jason.
Yeah.
And Michael Myers. So Jason because it's the the whole masked, disfigured kind of thing, but kind of like Michael Myers in this slow, lumbering kind of villain that's always gonna get you. It doesn't matter how slow he's walking, he's sure to get you. But I feel like there wasn't a lot of him in the movie.
Yeah.
It was at a certain point I was like, when is the Maniac Cop gonna come back? Like, I came here for Robert Zadar. And the makeup in the first one was not up to what it should have been. And by the second one, like, they make it way cooler. And then by the third one, they really, I think, get the makeup effects right for the villain. But he only gets 8 points in the first for me.
I gave the villain an 11. I think that the white gloves complete the look. And the downside for me is that the Maniac Cop, Matt Cordell, is draped in shadow too much. Like, we really don't get to see his face until the final scene of the movie.
It was really annoying. And I think that's what I meant by the whole he's a lot like Jason thing. It's like whenever you get the Jason unmasking, it's like this big, like, oh my God, moment.
In some of the movies. Some of them it's, ugh.
Right. But in this one, it was like, we like let up, we like wouldn't show his face. And then the second we do, it's like, oh, that's what we've been missing for the past 2 hours.
There's a big jump between how he looks as a horror movie monster between the first and second movie, and we're just really talking about the first one, but if we're rating the second one, I definitely would rate him higher. I like the way his character looks in the later movies, and I definitely feel like he's an undead revenant of some kind in the later movies, but I found myself confused in the first movie. Like,
I'm like, is he dead?
Oh, he survived?
Did the coroner just mess up and like he's still alive?
Yeah, but then like, yes, like that's correct, but then later he gets shot in the head and he just doesn't die. So I found myself a little confused, but by the second one, I've just bought into it, and now I know that he's much like Jason, but he's a police officer, or dressed as a police officer, because he's definitely not on the payroll now. He's a bad guy. One of the things I do like about the series too is that Robert Zadar is the Maniac Cop in all 3 movies, because I find that movies from this time and a little bit later, we start with a good first movie and then a different actor takes over, like Wishmaster. The first and second movie, we get Divoff, but then by the third movie, it's a different guy. Ginger Dead Man, we have Gary Busey, and then in the later movies, it's someone else. And it's like the John Connor effect.
You can't replace Robert Zadar.
I'm glad they did.
Tell us about the horror, Jesse. The horror.
All right, I scored horror a 9. The movie doesn't have a lot of horror. There's a lot of deaths. We get about 8 on-screen kills. Some of them are good. Some of them aren't as good. But as you were saying, the Maniac Cop is missing from lots of chunks of the movie. We don't quite get him enough. We get a little bit more detective work than horror. And then the climax of the movie is in broad daylight. And all that takes away from
I like that. No, it's ballsy.
Horror.
I like a little daytime horror.
So that's why I gave horror a 9. But, I mean, we got a decent kill count, and then there was like 6 other bodies that were just found in the police station that we didn't even see what happened to them. They were just hanging from the ceiling during like an escape attempt. But I gave it a 9. What about you?
I gave it an 8. And I brought up the point again about how we saw the face way too late, so we couldn't even be like terrified of the Maniac Cop himself enough in the movie. But there was a great throat cutting in there was like one in particular that was really slow. And I feel like that's where all of their kill was in that whole movie. There were a lot of like off camera things or things where we were just supposed to assume somebody died, and I don't like that.
I did like the death of the guy who was drowned in the concrete.
Yeah.
In the next morning, it's in the background. It's not like super like an important part of the scene, but there's like workers just like passively chiseling at the sidewalk trying to get the body out. But if you kind of watch them, it's like, what are those 2 guys doing there? I mean, you just pull the body out. It's all right.
No, they're I don't know, maybe they're hourly.
Right. Would you like to take us into effects, Vanessa?
I do, and there's something about the effects. So I gave it 10, and it's usually about like the blood or the whatever, the music. But this movie, for me, it's all about the stunts.
Yes.
The stunts.
I forgot about that.
Every actor either just should have gotten hazard pay, or every single actor in this movie had a stunt double, because every scene, it was great action movie orchestrated stunts, like car chases, and there was a boat at one point. Yeah.
Well, the Maniac Cop, if he's not killing you, his signature move is to just throw you really far.
Yeah, he's really good at throwing.
To let us know how strong he is. Yeah, like, he'd be like, cut this person's throat, and then grab this guy and just launch him.
Yes.
Bruce Campbell gets launched a bunch of times, where we see him go way too far. Like, oh, okay, all right. He just threw him that far. Okay, that's what kind of movie this is.
He's that strong.
Yeah. I gave effects a 9. There is some decent gore here and there. I liked the music. That's Jay Chataway, and I didn't recognize that name, and I had to look him up, and I found out why I didn't recognize him. Most of his work is with Star Trek. He did every Star Wars, every Star Trek series except I think the original. Like I saw him on Voyager, Enterprise, Next Generation. It was just Deep Space Nine. Well, you can find a lot of his music there. So that takes us to our final category, where we can assign bonus points for whatever reason we want, whether that's camp, star power, something nostalgic.
Je ne sais quoi.
And that is what we call the S factor. Do you want to take us into that one?
No.
Then I will. I awarded this movie 9 more points for S factor, and that was for the star power. Tom Atkins is, whenever he's in a movie, he's my favorite character in that movie. I love Tom Atkins in Night of the Creeps. I try to quote it all the time, and people don't know what I'm talking about. Halloween 3. He's in this, and he does a great job, and he totally overshadows Bruce Campbell. And I love Bruce Campbell, and I love everything Bruce Campbell is in, but Bruce Campbell does not shine in this movie. He's just in it. It could have been anybody, and it broke my heart. I was really sad about that. And again, we do get some Robert Zadar. It was nice to see him in this movie. So I gave it 9 S factor points. You?
I gave it 12. I'm sorry. I gave Robert Zadar 12. Yeah, like you said, I love Bruce Campbell. The Evil Dead 2 is one of the greatest,
fantastic
movies. But that's not the Bruce Campbell that showed up on this set.
He was just there, doing his lines and going home. Like, I didn't feel like he was really into this movie.
I'm just here to cheat on my wife and be a young cop.
I forgot about that. That's how the movie starts, with him cheating on his wife.
Yeah, well, thank God Robert Zadar was there.
Sometimes. Yeah, it wasn't in part 1 enough. And I wish he had some lines. I wish he talked. He doesn't talk till the later movies.
Yeah.
Well, before we kind of wrap this up, we are going to take you to Vanessa's one-sentence synopsis.
New York's finest are enlisted to clean up a mess left behind by one of New York City's finest.
So for me, my combined grand total for 1988's Maniac Cop is 49 horror score points.
And my points specifically for Larry Cohen and Robert Zadar is 47. For a combined total of 48.
All right. IMDb gives it a 6.0, and the Rotten Tomatoes audience score puts it way lower. It's got a 39%. So there's a big discrepancy there. We kind of fall in the middle, and I hope to own this movie someday. So that's all we have for you this week. And thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.
Stay spooky.
That's how we go.